Welcome to DasGeek. Today we're going to dive into the topic of VPNs, and this is such an interesting topic because there are so many shady businesses that deal in the VPN market, and there are a lot of good VPNs out there too, but it's hard to cipher through all of the junk. What I've done is I've ciphered through all the junk, and I have some premium VPNs here that we're going to compare their services against one another. And at the end of it, depending on what your needs are, hopefully this helps you find a really good VPN provider. Before we begin, I want to mention this video is not sponsored by any VPN provider at all. None of these VPNs were provided for me to test or anything for free. This is my own research. With that being said, you should still, even with the list that I'm going to give you, go and do your own research. I'm actually going to provide a download link for you. It's through Dropbox because I don't care about that account, so the public can go in there and download whatever they want from it. But I'm going to put the Excel sheet out there, so if you want to download it and look at it and do your own comparison, you can do so. I also want to mention this is based on my own research, and some of these VPNs, even the good ones, made it very difficult to find certain facts about their VPN. I did my best to fill in areas where I thought that I could. But if you're one of the VPN providers and an employee of one of them and I made a mistake in the sheet, well, then let me know and I'll update it in the sheet that people can download. But also you should know you need to clarify your website with those facts so it's easier to find, because some of this stuff, like I said, was very difficult to find on the VPN. So with that, without further ado, let's get into the list of VPNs that we're going to take a look at here today. So you can see that I've done my homework here. We have 6 of the top VPNs, and we have broken them down from everything from price to the various services that they offer from within. I'm not going to go through everything. This will be available in the info section for you to download directly from Dropbox if you're interested in reviewing this on your own. So we have Mullvad, Mozilla VPN, ProtonVPN, PIA, or Private Internet Access VPN, ExpressVPN, and NordVPN that we have rated here. I'm going to talk about the things that I think important. But number one, why do you need a VPN to begin with? What's the reason to even spend money on such a thing? I'll give you a real world example. We rented a condo on the beach on a vacation recently, and when I went there to connect to Wi-Fi, of course, there were like 15 or 20 different Wi-Fi. Now, I'm not familiar. This isn't my condo, but there are a bunch of condos connected together. I don't know which one is a real Wi-Fi service and which one could be just a man-in-the-middle attack, for instance, where you can set up a router, you can make the SID all say in this particular area, Spectrum was the big provider. I can make a SID that says Spectrum 35 or Spectrum 38 or anything else there. People connect to it because it's open and free, and now I'm watching their traffic come across. So this would be an example of where I would not want to just randomly connect to a Wi-Fi that I don't know. Also, if you go to Starbucks, you go to hotels, you travel, people can pose the Wi-Fi SIDs out there to make it look like they are the hotel that you're staying in the same name. So they disguise them. They make them even easier to connect to than the actual real one. And you as a user would have no difference. But if you're using a VPN and you connect it to that fake Wi-Fi, guess what they're going to see? Nothing but encrypted zeros and ones. It's going to be nonsense to them, and they're not going to be able to really do anything with that information at all. Connect without a VPN could be a very different story. So if you're traveling, VPN is very important. If you want to get around geo restrictions, so if you know certain areas won't let you watch certain videos if you're in a certain country and things, you can get around geo restrictions utilizing VPNs as well. A lot of people just want to use it for the sheer sake of being anonymous. If you're somebody who's a journalist or you're working with a whistleblower and you want to keep the information and interactions that you have private, having a full VPN running is very helpful. There's a big difference between a VPN and proxy. Be leery of any of the VPNs that are free. Either one or two things. One, they're a proxy, or two, they're a complete scam, or three, they're being subsidized and they're a very well-known good company that you can trust. One of those things would be like ProtonVPN, for instance. They have a free tier. You only get one connection at a time. It's kind of restricted. The people who are paying for Proton are help subsidizing that, and that's to help people who can't afford a VPN still be able to have one. That would be a trusted free VPN. Another one would be Tor, using Tor. Why not use Tor all the time? Well, Tor shouldn't be used for massive file downloads, for streaming services and things like that. You even see that mentioned from the Tor and Onion folks themselves, that it's really not what the service was meant for. It can be really slow, Tor can, whereas a VPN can be much much faster. So definitely, by all means, keep using Tor, keep using the Onion network. But if you're going to be downloading massive files, torrenting those type of things, torrenting legal files, of course, and only, then you want to use something like a VPN and not be taxing on the Tor network. And of course, just the types of devices and things that you're using. All of these, you can see they have iOS, Android, ARM. Some of them you can install directly on your router directly. There's just a lot of ease of use of having a VPN. But depending on your internet style, if you're just using very low data requirement type of browsing the internet, then Tor may be perfectly for you the whole time and you won't need to utilize anything else. So now what I'm going to do, I'm not going to go through this whole list. This video would take forever. I'm going to talk about the things that I find most important or I want to call your attention to specifically. Number one is the platforms that they support. You can see some of these support Deb and RPM. Some of these support Arch. I have Arch listed here, and even though a lot of these, like for instance Mullvad, you can install an Arch, they don't have specific install instructions for it, so I don't list it there, even though it's available in the AUR. What I'm listing here is what they say they support in Linux. So I like the services that support all of the distros, the big family distros out there. The more, the merrier in here. So you've got someone like ProtonVPN, PIA, and ExpressVPN that have Deb, RPM, and Arch instructions listed there. Again, all of these, for the most part, you can install an Arch thanks to AUR. But just something to note, what's their Linux support like? Because that's important. You want to be able to use a VPN across all of your different devices there. So is the app open source? If you don't know if it's open source, or if it's not open source, you can't go in there and actually audit the code. You don't know if the app's doing the things that it's telling you that it's doing, whether that be a kill switch, whether that be hopping, whatever it's saying it's doing. If it's not open source and you can't audit it, you can't really trust that that's actually happening, or you'd have to try to verify it in other ways. I just prefer having an open source app. You could see Mullvad, Mozilla, Proton, and PIA all have open source apps. These, I could not find information that their apps were open source. Couldn't find any GitHub repositories to show that. And so this is listed as no. And again, if any of this information is incorrect and you work for one of these VPNs, fix it on your website, make it clear on your website, make it clear and frequently asked questions, and then you won't have to worry about this problem anymore. Mobile platforms, we talked about simultaneous devices. If you have a ton of devices, this could be very important. Look at PIA up here with 10 devices. You can get the same thing with Proton, where Proton has tiers. You have the free tier, you have a basic tier, a plus tier. So depending on how much you're willing to pay, that's why the price here is $48 to $96. Depending on what you're willing to pay is how many simultaneous devices you can have. But with PIA, you get 10 devices for that $39.95, which is a pretty sweet deal there. The rest of them pretty much stay around the 5 or 6 devices. If you have a family, you could quickly get there fast. If you have a family of 4 and everybody has a phone, that's 4 of them right there. If everybody has a computer too, that's 8. So you've already surpassed the VPN requirements for many of these, and you would need to utilize something like a higher tier Proton plan or use PIA VPN. Anonymous payment is very important. So do they have options for being able to pay anonymously? Because obviously if you're using a VPN and you're giving all your credit card information and everything else, and you're somebody who, for instance, is a journalist or very, very concerned about being anonymous, then having anonymous payment options. And the best tier, period, is Mullvad. There's nobody better in these services here than Mullvad when it comes to information. They require nothing. You could even send them cash in an envelope over to their VPN service and get connected. All you have is an account number. You don't have to give email addresses, nothing. It's insane. It's one of the most unique sign-up processes that I've ever seen, and that is unique to Mullvad only here. Things like Mozilla, there are no anonymous payment options. Mozilla VPN, we could pretty much throw out here. There's just not a really fantastic option. The only reason you use Mozilla VPN, because they're utilizing Mullvad servers anyways, is really if you just wanted to support the Mozilla Foundation. ProtonVPN, yes, anonymous payments, everybody else. The type of encryption that they have. Now, notice that PIA VPN has 128. They just give you a choice. You can do 128-bit encryption or 256. The handshake, and if you notice at the top, little orange things here, little arrows, that'll give you information on what these things mean. So to me, traffic encryption, most important. The handshake with the servers is important, but most of these you can see do a fantastic job. Mozilla doesn't tell you. I couldn't find any information on it. I assume it's 4096. It's just, there's no info on it. So I put unknown because they should list that type of stuff out, don't you think? I think they should. Multi-hop can be important. If you want to send traffic through multiple servers, You can see some of these manually will allow you to do that. Others, it's built into the GUI. Proton, it's only on certain plans. Split tunneling. So this is a case if you have certain applications that you don't want to go through a VPN. For instance, gaming, you would slow it down too much. You don't want that to go through a VPN. Maybe your work, you don't want to get blocked. This actually happened to me. One of the downsides of using some of these services is they've been around long enough, or they're anonymous enough that some of the nefarious people use it, or bad deviant people use it for nefarious purposes, I should say, and they end up being blocked in mass. For instance, Mullvad got me flagged from work. Mullvad was flagged with banks, wouldn't let me connect with Mullvad, whereas with ProtonVPN and PIA, I didn't have that issue with those. I didn't have those notifications and things, or the bank blocking it because they saw it as a VPN. And again, this could be very much based on where you work and where you bank and things, of which ones are blocked or not. But just know for me personally, that was one of the issues I had with Mullvad specifically. So split tunneling can be very important because you can turn that off for certain types of applications, so you can still connect to them. Of course, if you're away from your home and you're turning off your VPN for your bank so you can connect, and you're on some weird Wi-Fi that you can't confirm, that could be a real issue. So don't do that. Do they have third-party audits? Very important. Do they have third-party companies going in there and making sure all the claims and security that they say they have is actually working like it should? Everyone here has that, but I couldn't find it for PIA VPN. I couldn't find any resources to show me that PIA VPN has third-party audits. However, this next thing, court tested. PIA VPN has been to court. There is a case you can look out there where the court asked for IP records from a specific customer, and PIA VPN could not provide them because they don't log. Because you'll see a lot of VPNs saying they have a no-log policy. PIA VPN has proved that in the past. Now, some people are weary of PIA VPN now because of the fact they got bought by a company that didn't have a fantastic reputation, according to some. And so some people are kind of leery of PIA VPN. I'll leave that up to you and your own research of what you think on that. And I'll tell you what my favorite VPNs are right now. But just know that information's out there if you want to look at it. Third-party audits. We talked about the headquarters that they're at. Is it a part of 5 or 14 eyes? So some of these headquarters are in US, some of these are in Sweden, British Virgin Islands. Part of 5 or 14 eyes means a bunch of governments got together and basically said, hey, if you have intelligence, then we all share it with each other, okay? So if you have intelligence on DasGeek, then you're going to share it with me. So if you're part of 5 or 14 eyes, that means you're part of this government of countries that all agree to share information with each other. Sweden is one of those places. The US is one of those places. Switzerland is not one of those places. So when you look over here and see ProtonVPN is not in the 5 or 14 eyes there, neither is ExpressVPN or NordVPN based on where they're headquartered. So that is important information I think you should take into consideration when you're looking at VPN. Account information, Tor support, servers, how many servers that they have. This could be important for speed and things. I can tell you Mullvad, Proton, PIA. For me, the speeds were all fantastic for most of those services. I think the fastest out of them was between PIA and Proton, but Mullvad was plenty fast in plenty of instances. DNS leak and having a kill switch so that if your internet connection drops, it will not reconnect or allow you to connect until your VPN's turned back on, essentially. So this information's all out there. You can download it, take a look at it, but you're probably wanting to know, okay, great, but which ones did you choose, Ryan? Well, if you were smart enough, you were looking down here and you're kind of cheating. If you cheated, then you got to cheat a little bit, but you didn't get to see the whole thing. So who are my favorite VPN choices? I think all around the best VPN that I personally used out of this list. The only ones I didn't use on this list, ExpressVPN and NordVPN. So I didn't sign up for those and test those out there. So this information is just what I got out there on the internet. I do have personal experience with the top 4 there where I've used them for long stints of time. ProtonVPN is my absolute favorite. I just love Proton Email, number 1. They have an option that you can sign up for their beta. So you get Proton Drive, which is a encrypted storage option. You get to test that in beta. You get the VPN service, and you've got the different tiers there and their VPN. It's just a fantastic all-around great service. And Mullvad, I think, is the best for privacy. And a lot of that has to do with the fact of how anonymous you can be for signing up. So if you are a journalist or you're dealing with whistleblowers and that type of stuff, and you need to be 100% anonymous, using something like Mullvad and Tor together, that would be an option that I would recommend for the absolute privacy. You're not going to have the most speed, but you're going to have that privacy. If you're looking at just all around fantastic GUI, protection, bundling services together, I think ProtonVPN is the way to go there. Your best choice for prices, Mullvad has no sales ever. PIA VPN has sales all the time. You can get rid of more years that you sign up for, the more money you can save. ProtonVPN, of course, has a free option. So if price and none, you can't afford any of these, go and sign up for ProtonVPN, get the free tier, and use that. You get one connection. One connection is better than no connections. And of course, you can always use Tor here as well if money is an issue. Privacy gurus, Mullvad, we already mentioned. Getting around regional restrictions. Usually it's a matter of having the most servers, because you may want to get around restrictions in all kinds of different countries and areas. So you want a service with the most servers out there. And so you can see I have a count of servers right here. Who has the most servers? You can see 78, 94, 55, 60. So out of that, the choice that I came up with is PIA VPN and NordVPN. I think are good choices when you think about the most servers that are available. I also want to mention I did a poll with the community, and I asked them, and there was 58 of you that replied what your favorite VPN service is. 21% chose private internet access. NordVPN was at 28%, ExpressVPN at 7%, Proton at 26%, and Mullvad VPN at 19%. I was really happy to see Mullvad have 19%. I didn't know they were as popular with a lot of the community, but of course my community is brilliant and privacy focused and awesome people, so I guess I shouldn't have been surprised at all. I was also very happy to see ProtonVPN take 26% here. NordVPN is a very popular VPN service. They also run lots of sales and things out there, so no surprise. And PIA, of course, has been popular with the community, open source and things for a long time in the privacy world, so I think this makes a lot of sense. ExpressVPN is one I added in the last minute, actually, when I was doing this, because I just saw so many people talking about it and so much advertising out there with ExpressVPN. I decided to throw them in. And this is not to say these are the only good VPN services out there. There probably are others, but there are just so many bad ones. You have to be really careful and do your own research. Take what I've done, add to your own research, maybe pick 2 of these that you think are interesting, and then pick your VPN service from there, because it's really important that you get one that you feel you've done the research that's secure, because you're going to be sending a lot of your personal traffic through it. So you need to be able to trust them. And here's an example of the 2 apps. You have ProtonVPN here and Mullvad. You can see we have options like Secure Core, which allows you to route your sensitive data through multiple different servers. They call Secure Server or Secure Core here. You have NetShield. A lot of these services also have ad blocking and other things, block malware, block ads and trackers that you can turn on. Of course, you're not going to get that with the free tier on Proton and your kill switch that you have here as well. Mullvad also has lots of advanced options. I'm not showing all the options available in Proton because I don't have the paid tier for Proton at this moment, because I was trying out Mullvad VPN for the last month and a half or so. But prior to that, I was using Proton. So I don't have all the advanced features I can show you here. But there are lots of advanced features and lots of places you can upgrade to, and you can see icons for the Onion network and other stuff there that you can do. So don't think just because you're not seeing it here that a lot of these options aren't there. But in Mullvad, again, enable IPv6. So if you're using IPv6, not all of these, and you'll see that in the spreadsheet, support IPv6. They only support IPv4, so that would be something to consider. Always require VPN, tunnel protocols if you want to use a different protocol, transports, bridging modes, WireGuard keys, split tunneling that we talked about if you want to have some apps go through it and some apps not. And then you have a bunch of other preferences like launch app at startup, auto connect, block ads, trackers, all of this stuff that you can do here in Mullvad. And of course, we are on the Arch Linux, Garuda Linux specifically, an Arch-based Linux distro, and all of this is available in the AUR. These are the 2 big ones that I'm kind of thinking are the greatest VPNs out of all the ones that I looked at, personally, my opinion. So those are the 2 GUIs that I pulled down for you. It is also important to note that this channel in no way, shape, or form was promoted by any VPN service, received any free trials or anything else with any of these VPN services. This is all research I did completely on my own, and I recommend you do your own research as well. However, There is a service that does sponsor this channel that I absolutely love and is also amazing for privacy gurus out there. And that, of course, is Bitwarden. So go to bitwarden.com/DLN. It's the greatest password manager on the planet. I love them well before they were ever a sponsor. And listen, passwords are one of those things where a lot of people get caught up in just making either not a complex password and reusing it everywhere, even having one complex password and reusing it everywhere. How can you remember different passwords for hundreds of services that you might be signed up for? Well, you need a service like Bitwarden. You can use it for your business, personal use. You can set up family accounts. It's open source. They have third-party auditors come in and check their code, which is something we're looking at for the VPNs. You definitely want to check out Bitwarden. Go to bitwarden.com/DLN. Consider signing up for the premium service out there and help supporting it. It's stupid, ridiculous cheap. It's so cheap. I want you to just go there and look at it and go, oh my gosh, I could get that out of my couch cushions and I get an amazing password manager I can put on my phones, I can put on my tablets, I can put on my laptops, have it everywhere. Bitwarden's the first thing I install. I'm not even kidding, on any machine that I have, because that's my whole world there, and connect to everything with Bitwarden. Of course, you can set up things like two-factor authentications, YubiKey support, all those cool things. Go to bitwarden.com/DLN, check them out. I hope this video helps you to understand the importance of VPNs, what you can use them for, but also ways that you can start investigating a VPN, what you should be looking for when you're looking at a VPN. Do they have good encryption? Do they have a no-log policy? What are the features that they have that are important to you that you're going to utilize the most? You know, as far as signing up, anonymous payment methods, those type of things out there. And do they have proven third-party audits or court cases out there to prove that what they're telling you is actually fact? These are just some of the things that you should look for. But that Excel spreadsheet, well, it's not Excel, it's only Office. Look, see, they kind of got into our vocabulary there. It got into my vocabulary. I'm not going to cut it out. I'm going to leave it there. It's not Excel. It's only Office Sheets. I think it's called Sheets in there. But we got that sheet for you to download. I'll have it there. It's a Dropbox link. Why am I using Dropbox? Well, because I don't care about it. Like if someone broke into it and erased everything in there, they'd have 2 files that I shared with the public anyways. So that's why I'm throwing it out there on Dropbox. So you just go download that off Dropbox and you can add your own research in there if you want. Hopefully this helps you with that. And until next time, get out there and fill your brains.